It's been 12 days since we last saw them, but the Broncos are rested and ready to begin the final 7 games of their schedule with a familiar opponent. We'll take a look at how Denver stacks up against the Chargers in Week 12, how this division game could have huge implications for Denver's first-place dreams, and why this week's contract news could ripple far beyond that wide receiver room and the 2021 season. Welcome into Broncos Weekend, everybody. I'm Matt Boyer, alongside Alexis Perry and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Guys, happy Thanksgiving. Rested and ready after the bye week?
Oh, yeah, feeling good. Got some good old Thanksgiving food, turkey and all the good stuff. So yeah, had a great day. How about you guys?
Great day, just ready for a big game on Sunday. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Guys, this week, the Broncos and Chargers coming at this game from very different places. The Broncos, last week, getting rested, getting healthy, that was the priority. The Chargers, on the other hand, coming off a huge Sunday night win, a bit of a shorter week for them, but a lot of momentum with the Bolts, and especially that quarterback, Justin Herbert, as we take a look at the quarterback matchup this week. Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Herbert. Alexis, in their last game against the Eagles, Teddy in the offense didn't play poorly from a statistical standpoint, but 1 of 11 on third down. Philly with a 10-minute time of possession advantage. Not good. So, what are some of the things you'd like to see Teddy do to remedy that this week? Yeah,
like you mentioned, some of the stats on paper, they were fine. But I think the biggest one, the most noticeable, the most glaring, 1 for 11 on third downs. I mean, Matt, color me concerned, seriously. But this isn't all about Teddy Bridgewater. I know the offensive line was a little banged up, so the protection wasn't as good as it should have been for him. So if they can protect him a little bit better this week, that'll give Teddy some time to let the play develop, but most importantly, allow the receivers to run deeper routes beyond the sticks. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me. The number of completed passes that still came up short on third down. Those guys need to get past the sticks, pitch, catch, first down, but as you can tell, all 11 guys on the field need to get involved. They all need to step up in order to be more successful in those situations.
Those first downs will go a long way in getting the Broncos to their average of 31-34 time of possession.
Let's do it.
And they've got to do it, Steve, because Justin Herbert is a dynamic playmaker. 382 yards passing last week, 90 rush yards, 3 touchdowns. Fangio had high praise for Herbert's jump, saying this coaching staff with Brandon Staley, they've done a lot to take him to the next level. In your mind, though, where has his game improved the most since we saw him last year?
Well, he really has matured a lot. He's still throwing the accurate passes that he was throwing last year. He makes good decisions about when he's going to try and run. He's extremely mobile, but he doesn't do that all the time. He's not anxious to run the ball. And I saw Drew Brees, he made some comments about his development when he was a younger player. And it took him 3 to 4 years before he really felt comfortable that he belongs in the NFL. And Justin Herbert, in his second year, is already at that point. He feels really comfortable in the pocket. The offensive line is doing a great job. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they've been doing a great job of coming up with big catches in key situations, and he's getting the ball to the running back as well. That offense is running like a well-oiled machine.
You mentioned that running back, and he is really driving this offense. Austin Eckler, the Colorado guy from Eaton High School. Let's take a look at those running backs this week. Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. AP, there's been a lot of angst around the Broncos running game from Broncos country. We see the comments, we hear it on the radio all the time. Against the Cowboys, Gordon ran it 21 times. They won.
Yep.
Eagles, he only runs it 9 times. So is the recipe as simple as feed Melvin against LA?
Well, I wouldn't say the recipe for success against LA is just one ingredient, but there really is no way to complicate this. Like you just mentioned, when the Broncos commit to the run game, they win games. When they get away from it, they lose. So since there's really no other way to put it, just run the ball. You can hand it off to Melvin, you can hand it off to Javonte Williams. It doesn't really matter who they're handing it off to. They just need to commit to the ground game in general. You mentioned Melvin's 21 carries against Dallas, but let's not forget that Javonte Williams, he had 17 carries in that game as well. That's 38 combined in comparison to the combined 17 carries against the Eagles. So this week, the Chargers, they are giving up the most rushing yards per game in the league on average. So run the ball and then run it a little bit more because it's probably not enough. So just commit to the ground game. I think that is a huge key to success this week for the Broncos.
It's also going to be a huge key to what the Chargers want to do, Steve. Austin Eckler, Eaton High School's own, okay?
Yes.
4 touchdowns against the Steelers, 2 receiving, 2 rushing. As a defender in your mind, how do you how do you get ready for this guy? Because he can hurt you a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Eckler, he's a great running back. He's very difficult to tackle. He's about 5'9", 5'10". I'm not sure exactly where he is there, about 200 pounds. And he has the shiftiness, to get past you, to make you miss. And then he also has the strength to kind of run through you. So many times defenders don't know how they're going to attack him because he's so strong. And he's a big weapon of Justin Herbert's out of the backfield. He's third on the team in receptions right now. And once he gets it, he can go the distance with the football.
He's almost, you mentioned it, third on the team in receptions. He's only one behind Mike Williams.
Right.
So they love to find this guy in the open field. Let's switch gears now, talk a little bit about the defense. Two guys looking to disrupt that passing game that we just referenced. Malik Reed and Joey Bosa on the edges. AP, Reed has had 3 sacks his last 2 games. Didn't play against Dallas. And a double-digit sack total's not out of the question for 2021. So if Denver's going to get a win against the Chargers, how big does his game need to be? And with this Broncos pass rush, how big do they need to be in combination this Sunday?
Yeah, of course, Malik Reed, he needs to have a huge game. But this is a huge week for the entire Broncos front 7, given that Justin Herbert's Achilles heel is pressure. When teams aren't sending extra pressure, he owns the best QBR in the entire league. But when the defenses are sending 5 or more, he ranks 19th. So we all know the key to slowing down a high-powered passing offense is just to make the quarterback uncomfortable. And Herbert, he gets a little discombobulated when facing complex coverages and heavy rushes, especially at the same time. So given the Broncos are one of the highest blitzing teams in the league this season, this is an opportunity for the Broncos pass rush to really make a significant difference in this game, but they also need to send pressure up the middle. So this is a big week for guys like Shelby Harris and Mike Purcell as well.
Steve, on the other side, Joey Bosa. Vic Fangio said that he is the focal point of this defense. What impresses you most about this Chargers defense? A lot's going to be made about Brandon Staley, his relationship to Vic Fangio. What do you like about this Chargers D?
Well, I really like their scrappiness. Everybody's getting to the ball. They're physical. Of course, Joey Bosa, one of the greatest pass rushers in the game right now. And then they got Derwin James and Nasir Adderley as the safety positions. Both guys playing really well there. And, of course, Chris Harris Jr. In the slot there. So they're not as good against the run, but against the pass, they've been doing a really decent job. I think first and foremost, though, it starts with Joey Bosa, making sure that we have him blocked and we know where he is at all times. And then I imagine Derwin James, he'll probably be trying to cover either Noah Fant or Albert O man-to-man. I've seen him play man-to-man really well, and he does a really good job of it. So maybe have some opportunities to get the ball to the tight ends, too.
This is the first time we're going to see Vic Fangio go up against one of his pupils in Brandon Staley. So interesting to see if we're going to see a couple little wrinkles from these coaches here to throw each other off. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back on Broncos Weekend, Denver has been dominant at home against the Chargers in history, but it has taken some historic plays to get them there. We'll take a look at the best of the best when the Chargers come to town. That's next. The Broncos and Chargers have met a whopping 123 times in their shared history, with Denver owning a 42-18-1 all-time record in the Mile High City. The first win at home against the Bolts came in 1962. That day, Gene Mingo rushed for a touchdown and kicked 3 field goals, while Frank Tripucka threw 2 touchdown passes en route to a 30-21 victory for the Orange and Blue. One of the most memorable wins against the Chargers might have come in 1985. That year, John Elway led a fourth-quarter comeback to force overtime, and in the extra period, it was 2 more Ring of Famers sealing the win for Denver. Dennis Smith blocked a potential game-winning field goal, and Louis Wright took the loose ball back for a 60-yard score as Denver edged the Chargers 30-24. Despite meeting over 100 times since 1960, only 1 game has occurred in the postseason. In the 2013 divisional round, Peyton Manning threw 2 touchdown passes, and the Denver defense sacked Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers 4 times, as the Broncos went on to win 24-17 on their journey to the team's 7th AFC title. In recent years, there has also been no shortage of drama inside the Denver city limits.
Shelby Harris got a piece of it!
In 2017 on Monday Night Football, Shelby Harris saved the game for the Broncos, blocking what would have been a game-tying 44-yard field goal, giving the Broncos a 24-21 win. And in their most recent meeting in Denver, the Broncos offense erased a 21-point deficit in the second half thanks to 3 touchdown passes from Drew Lock. The final toss hitting KJ Hamler with no time left on the clock as Denver escaped with a 31-30 victory.
What a comeback by the Broncos.
Ring of Famers making special teams scores, last-second touchdowns. This rivalry has everything Broncos country. Welcome in to Broncos Weekend. Okay, Steve, you were 13-7 for your career against the Chargers. Not bad.
Pretty good.
More INTs, 5, than against any other team that you've played against. So you were tallying them up there. But those Charger teams were competitive, too. Can't shortchange you there. So what do you remember about those battles?
Well, I remember we enjoyed going to San Diego because, obviously the weather was great. We had some great battles against the guys. I had a couple of friends on the team, Junior Seau and Rod Bernstein, and so that all made it fun. And also, crowd noise wasn't a problem when they were in San Diego, so it was kind of a friendly environment.
Yeah, some of those games certainly look like home games. A couple guys, Steve, who have made pretty good plays against the Chargers in their career. We saw one of them at the top of that package, Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick, both getting huge contract extensions this week. Well-deserved by both of those guys. Steve, how do these deals now shape the Broncos for the next few seasons, specifically on the offensive side?
Well, I think getting those guys under contract really lays a solid foundation for the future going forward. And then also getting Garrett Bowles under contract last season, I think it really sets a precedent for a lot of young guys coming through that, hey, if they go out and play well and do all the right things in the community, be a leader on the team, you can be rewarded with a nice-sized contract and have a chance to be here for a long time.
George Paton's been very busy since he got here in January. Shelby Harris, Justin Simmons, Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton have all signed multi-year extensions since Paton took the GM job in January. So, Steve, now that all these guys are wrapped up, what are we looking at next? Is it the draft? Are we looking at other contract extensions? What's on the horizon here for Broncos country and George Paton?
Yeah, that's a good question, and a lot can change here over the next 7 weeks. But I think at some point in the future, another quarterback, whether it be through the draft, I would prefer that method through the draft and still having one or two of the quarterbacks that we have here now. And I think at some point an inside linebacker is going to be on the table. Again, that may be through the draft, it may be through free agency. But George Paton right now has shown that he likes to build through the draft, and I'm hoping that will continue with those two positions.
George Paton made sure to say that everything is still on the table for this team. They've got cash, they've got draft capital, so a lot to look forward to Broncos country in the coming months and years. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back on Broncos Weekend, Alexis is chatting with 9 News Broncos insider Mike Klis about Denver's outlook in the AFC West and why this week's contract news has major implications on this season and beyond. Welcome back to Broncos Weekend, everybody. Last week may have been the bye week, but there was plenty going on around UC Health Training Center with a pair of big contract extensions and a divisional opponent looming. So to get you set for game day and break it all down, Alexis Perry is chatting with our good friend and 9 News Broncos insider, Mike Klis.
Thanks so much, Matt. Mike, before we get into this Week 12 matchup here against the Chargers, first, I have to get your thoughts on the big news, some that you broke, that 3-year contract extension for Tim Patrick, a 4-year deal for Courtland Sutton, keeping this wide receiving core together through 2024 or so. So why was this the perfect time to get these deals done?
Well, it's during the bye, and usually they do get deals like this done during the bye, especially when it's this late. You like to set up your budget for next year. It's about time to start rolling over the salary cap. You start looking at those numbers. But also because George Paton believes in tying up his core players. And he had identified Tim Patrick. I think Tim Patrick played his way into being a core player.
Yep.
With another consistent season. And then, Courtland Sutton was. So, and they both responded. They're both off to good starts. And now maybe just a little bit, if, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, if he gets things cleared up, if they want to look at the Broncos as a potential destination, they can see that there's some receivers tied up. They're close to playoff contention. Obviously, the last 7 games will say something about it. But next year, George Paton will want to get in position through the offseason acquisitions to be a legitimate playoff contender.
Well, hopefully we see Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton, and the rest of these core guys have a big game this week up against the LA Chargers. You know, you wrote a piece a few days back about how Vic Fangio's Broncos tend to show up after the bye week. So what can Broncos country expect this week?
I think they can expect a win.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Chargers look great against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it was Sunday night. So they basically have 6 days rest, maybe only 5 because they're traveling here.
Yep.
The Broncos, meanwhile, kick their feet up and watch the game from the comforts of their own home. They have 2 weeks off. The Broncos should have fresh legs. And Fangio is good at with the extra time of scheming. I think the Broncos are going to be closer to peak performance against the Chargers than the Chargers will be against the Broncos. That's what my gut says anyway.
Yep.
We'll see if Justin Herbert's going to change that at all.
Well, we've seen flashes of greatness from this Broncos offense. We all remember Week 9 against the Dallas Cowboys, but we've also seen some really bleak moments like Week 10 against the Eagles. So how does this offense just find some more consistency here down the stretch?
Yeah, I think the tough thing that they've had where the inconsistency is up front with their offensive line because of the injuries. I mean, they've really been decimated more than we pay attention to. Garrett Bowles hasn't been there, it looks like, for 3 games now in a row. Bobby Massey went down at right tackle, Graham Glasgow, and so you're filling in. Cam Fleming's a nice veteran replacement. Quinn Miners has a lot of talent, but he's still a rookie. Calvin Anderson is just getting his feet wet. So I think that's where maybe the inconsistency is. If you have the offensive line, you can run the ball. Teddy Bridgewater really good off that play action fake as far as passing the ball. And this offense also plays better when it's got a little bit of a lead.
Yep.
When it's behind 10-0 before its 4th snap, it's not built that way to come back.
Well, specifically against the Chargers, what is maybe a weakness on the Chargers' defensive side of the ball that this offense can exploit this week?
Well, they do pass rush real well, and they've got a lot of good cornerbacks, so it fits then that the Broncos should run the ball.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, I don't think you necessarily want to come out and run on first down, run on second down. Maybe you pass on first and second and then set up the run. And then Teddy can complement it with the play action fake and have his guys open across the middle. Very good passer across the middle is Teddy Bridgewater. But you got to have the linebackers and the safeties cheating up a step against the run for that to work.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, just run the football. The Denver Broncos just need to run the football this week. But speaking of running the football, Denver's defense, they gave up 214 yards on the ground to the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 10. So, of course, there's some things that this Broncos defense is looking to bounce back from. So what do they need to hone in on specifically against Justin Herbert?
Well, yeah, their defensive line is not really a stout defensive line. It's more for penetrating and putting a pass rush against the quarterback. And so this defense is set up to where you need strong inside linebackers. And we all know they've been decimated by injuries at that position. So stopping the run is, Baron Browning hopefully is back. Kenny Young, they got Justin Sternad back, so that's going to help them instead of calling up guys from the practice squad to play inside linebacker. But then you saw against the Steelers, if containment is broke, Herbert knows how to bust out of there. So it's going to be big for Weatherly and Cooper and maybe Bradley Chubb if he comes back and plays this week. That would be huge if Chubb can come back and play. That'll help set the edge and kind of contain Justin Herbert in the pocket.
Well, it feels like every week on this show we are stressing the importance of this Sunday's matchup. But why is this game on Sunday against the Chargers especially important for the Broncos?
Well, they're on the brink here. This is a kind of a game on the brink as far as the season goes. You win your 6-5, you go into Kansas City the following week on Sunday night with a chance for first place. You lose, you're 5-6. The Chiefs are a tough out at home at Arrowhead. Broncos haven't beat them, in 11 games in a row.
Thanks for bringing that up, Klis.
Yeah, I know. Some facts are tougher to take than others. But that's why it is. And I think the Chargers are vulnerable after their big, exhausting track meet that they played on Sunday night against the Steelers to pull that game out. So you're at home. You haven't played well at home necessarily this year. And it's the start of this gauntlet of AFC West opponents.
Right.
You got to set the tone right away by winning game one.
All right, Klis, thank you so much for your time. We so appreciate it. Of course, we'll see you on Sunday at Empower Field at Mile High. Matt, let's send it back to you.
Thank you, Alexis. Okay, Steve, Denver looking for their first AFC West win this season. A win over LA could potentially have first place implications the following week against Kansas City. So, first things first, though, Steve. How they get it done against the Chargers? Well,
first off, I would say defensively, the Chargers had some issues. Justin Herbert in particular, handling the slot corner when they rushed in third down situations. I'd like to see us put a little bit of pressure on him from the slot corner position and see if he can handle it. If he can't, we may have to get back, but that's one of the things I think will be key, is getting a little bit of pressure on him in those key situations. And then on the other side of the football, hey, we just locked up Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton. Let's get those two guys, and you can't leave out Jerry Jeudy. Got to get them the ball, especially when we see them in man-to-man situations.
Steve, for me, got to run the football. Keep Herbert off the field. The Eagles in Week 9 almost beat the Chargers by doing just that. The Broncos, they've done it against Dak Prescott. They can do it against Herbert. Shorten the game. Keep him off the field for extended stretches. Get the screen game going. You know, I think if they do that, we'll see you in that gold jacket next week. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's an area where they haven't been playing well at against. They haven't been really good at run defense. The Chargers haven't. So, you know, I like that.
There we go. Let's see you in that gold jacket in Week 13.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go, Broncos!
That'll do it for us today on Broncos Weekend. Special thanks to the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. I'm Matt Boyer. So long, Broncos country. We will see you next week.